Rev up your engines!
Well, the feds just busted a catalytic converter theft ring that cost millions. The federal government is seeking $545 million in forfeitures from these people who were involved in this catalytic converter theft ring. Now, 15 of these defendants are being charged with buying stolen catalytic converters from thieves and then selling them to DG Auto. They're taking the DG Auto guys to court too. And guess where DG Autos is? New Jersey. Well, the Jersey boys and stolen things. Well, somehow that doesn't surprise me. The whole country, and where are they fencing out the catalytic converters? In an auto parts place in Jersey. Now, 6 people in the DG Auto are being charged of buying all the stolen catalytic converters and what they call decanting them, taking them apart to get the precious minerals out, right? And then sell those powdered metals to a refinery that uses them over again. See, normally that is what happens. When the catalytic converters are gone, you don't throw them away. They're recycled. I know a guy who worked in a recycling place in Colorado, and that's what they did. They recycled the metal. So it's being recycled, but it's being recycled for ones that there wasn't anything wrong with them. These people didn't have them take off and replace with new ones because they were broken. They were stolen, and then they recycled them, right? I just find it utterly hilarious that the guys that are doing it are in Jersey, right? And the government says they made hundreds of millions of dollars off of this, off of thousands and thousands of Americans like us that came and looked. Oh, my catalytic converter's gone. My sister-in-law had her catalytic converter on her Prius stolen in Houston. Well, the insurance company covered it, luckily for her, because it cost thousands of dollars for that expensive Prius catalytic converter. All in all, the government says that they made $545 million in profits, so they're going to be taking all the property and everything. The feds say there has been a 10-fold increase in stolen catalytic converters since 2018 to 2021. That's a lot of an increase, right? And of course, one of the reasons is there's a rarity of all the minerals and stuff with the Russia-Ukraine war, so the price of the raw materials going up, so the thieves are stealing more of them. I just find it hilarious that it looks like the whole thing was done in Jersey. Steal them all over the country, but fence them off in Jersey. Grid Chop 01 says, I'm getting a new car, 2023 Subaru Outback Wilderness. Is it necessary to break in the engine? Some say you do, some say you don't. Okay, you really don't have to. When I was young, yeah, you changed the oil after 500 miles. The oil wasn't as good, the engine wasn't as good, you want it to last, you want to get all any kind of metal filings out of it. Modern vehicles are completely different. They're aluminum composites. I would say change the oil every 5,000 miles. Use full synthetic GF6 oil. Change every 5. You're not going to have any problems, right? Subaru makes pretty good engines now. Yeah, they had problems with their boxer engines blowing head gaskets, but that was decades ago. But you don't have to really break it in. Now, don't drive it as fast as you can right away. For the first 1,000 miles, I probably wouldn't take it over 75, 80 miles an hour. That makes sense. You don't want to, just as fast as it can go, boom, you never know. But you don't need to change the oil early. Just change it every 5,000 miles. I don't know what Subaru tells you to change it at, but listen to me. Change it every 5 with the GF6 synthetic oil, and you'll thank me when your Subaru's still motoring down the road when it's got 200-something thousand miles on it. You don't want to go by these long extended oil changes because it wears them out. The warranty in the engine is only so long. And even if you have a warranty and you get one that burns oil, they do tests and say, well, it's only a quart every 1,000 miles. That's within range, so we're not going to give you another engine. So change the oil and don't even deal with any of that crap. You don't have to do it early on a brand new car. Mr. Bill says, my father's F-150 long bad. The temperature gauge doesn't work. It shows cold. Do you replace the thermostat? No change. It is less than 100,000 miles. Any ideas? Yeah, get the sensor, the temperature sensor. Any auto parts store can sell you one. It just screws on the engine block, screws off, and you screw the new one in. You do need a socket that fits it. They're kind of an odd size. So when you go to AutoZone, O'Reilly, wherever the heck you go, you're going to buy the temperature sensor for your gauge. They can even show you a picture on their computer. And AutoZone's often will print you out a picture, so they'll hand you a hard copy of it. Buy the sensor, and then if you don't have a tool that fits, say I need the tool to take it off, and they'll sell you the socket that fits on it. Sometimes even I have to do it. Some of these sockets are weird sizes, and if I don't have the right one, I'll just buy it when I go buy the sensor. Easy job. Just do it when it's cold so you don't burn yourself. Ed Chalanda says, my 2012 Lexus 460 has TPMS issues. My TPMS system doesn't work. It doesn't show up on the display. When I go through the options on the dash, it's missing tire pressure. I'm assuming it's the TPS control unit which records it. Can I buy this online, or should I think I should go to the dealer? It probably is. that control unit. Control unit costs $779 though. And you can't just plug it in and it'll work. It's got to be reprogrammed for your car. I personally would not guess with something that expensive. It could have a wire problem. It could have a problem in a dash. It could have all kinds of problems. I would advise getting it analyzed first. And here's the other thing that I warn everybody about. That's why I tell people don't buy a V8 Lexus because the parts are so expensive. I mean, that little control module, $779, right? It's a lot of money. You don't want to buy that stuff just generically online. I'm sure you can find one cheaper, but a lot of it's Chinese-made crap that doesn't work. I've had that happen. Customers just say, well, that was $800. I got one online for $110. And they brought it to me and I put it in and it didn't work. I couldn't program it. It didn't work at all because it came from China and was junk. In this case, you got to buy OEM stuff. And since that thing's like $800, you got to program it anyways. Have a good mechanic analyze it first. Don't just guess with parts that cost that much money. Those control units are expensive. They have to be reprogrammed. At least have somebody analyze it before you do anything. Don't start guessing with expensive parts like that. BT47093 says, I inherited Grandpa's 98 Buick Riviera. It has 889,363 miles on it. It runs good. He took care of it. I live in Utah. He left it in the garage in the winter. It doesn't have rust or body paint flaws. Grandpa bought it new. But how long will it last? Should I keep it? What the heck? You got it for free. It's not worth that much. It's the 98 Buick Riviera. They're not particularly collector's items or anything. But here's the thing. If you can prove that mileage is real, contact GM. They might want to use it for an advertising campaign. You might get some serious money. They might want to buy it for you. Say, look how our products last, blah, 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 right? Because generally, GM products don't last that long. Now, I don't know how your grandfather drove, but I mean, geez, that's what? 24 years the guy drove 889,000 miles. What did your grandfather do? Now, I know a guy who put that kind of mileage on vehicles, but he sold hunting dogs, and he was in Texas. Somebody wanted a hunting dog in Detroit. He'd drive from Houston to Detroit and back and bring him the dog. So he put a lot of mileage on his vehicle. But you might want to contact GM. If it looks that good and there's no rust or anything, maybe they'll buy it back from you. Use it for an advertising campaign. Who knows? Take advantage of something. Drive it if you want. You know, I mean, it's not, you try to sell it, something that old with that many miles, it's really not worth anything. But it could be worth a lot to GMs, and you might contact them. Just don't mention my name because they don't like me because I'm always putting down the junk they're making these days. So keep my name out of it if you want them to do something. Amash says, I got a Ford Escape. The plastic T-joint is leaking going to the heater. I'm thinking about putting in Rizalone copper radiator stop leak in the model. What do you think? I would not. And here's why. It's Rizalone copper radiator sealer, right? Copper. You're trying to seal plastic. Plastic does not seal. Period. It's brittle, it's cracked, and it's not going to last. Eventually, it's going to snap off, and it might be going 65 miles an hour. The teeth snaps off, your engine overheats and blows up. I would replace the part, and I would try to go aftermarket. See if a company sells metal replacement ones. A lot of times, you can get companies that make metal replacement parts. Or, my all-time favorite, I go to hardware stores. I take the plastic fitting with me. I said, you got a metal fitting that's shaped like this? And they say, yeah. I put a metal one on and use little clamps to hold it in place, and away I go. If there's a will, there's a way. You can always make something better. And hardware stores have all kinds of copper metal tees and fastening that if you can make one and put clamps on it, rubber hose, go right ahead. I do that all the time. You know, say you got a plastic thing that's leaking that goes to a rubber hose. Well, you can cut the end of the rubber hose off, put in a metal one, clamp it on, and it will never leak again. That's what I always try to replace plastic crap with metal when it's accessible like that where you can easily get to it. Plastic's leaking because it's hard, brittle, and cracked. Even if a sealer stopped one leak, it's going to eventually crack and then fly right off, and then you could overheat your engine. So try to find a metal replacement. Car Now 2021 says, Corolla, the revs go up, but the speed stays the same or slows down. Then the car almost comes to a stop. It only happens once in a while. You've got a CVT transmission that's starting to go out. They're very expensive to repair. I'm not a big fan of them myself. And the thing is, you only got 15,000 miles. Me, I'd take it back to Toyota and complain. Now, they're going to laugh at you probably because it's a 10-year-old car. Right? 10 years ago. They didn't really have CVT transmissions down pat. Now I do have to say, my son has a 3-year-old Corolla S with a CVT, loves it, he's had no problems with it, and he drives it hard. But his is a 2020 Corolla. It's a lot older, and they weren't making them right, and you're kind of screwed. I would complain and whine at Toyota like mad, see if they could do anything about it, but it is your transmission. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's slipping, it's going, it makes the car stop. There's such complex things, and back then, they really weren't perfected. Like I say, the new ones, they seem to be pretty good, but that was 10 years ago, and they weren't that great back then. I've seen a bunch of them break. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.